Thank you, everybody, for joining. Again, Michael, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this program, this ongoing program of how we sustain in these current times of coronavirus, where we're all forced to readapt, acclimate new ways and modes to do our business, which is real estate, which is, really a face-to-face, hands-on industry. Where right now we're finding that, our hands are literally tied. And we just are trying to bring in all the experts to get some very valuable information on how we are all sustaining in these times. So without further ado, Michael, please introduce yourself. I know you're with MLB Mortgages, and it's, great to do business with you. You're trustworthy professional, and, we're pleased to have you here. So Michael, please go ahead.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, Alan. I really appreciate being on. Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, I mean, it's all about value added. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I'm part owner and branch manager. I have a lot of experiences with mortgages and through the ups and downs of bad market, good market. I think one of the most important things that I always try to remind myself is, how do I give value back, value added towards my referral partners, and how can I educate more? Because at the end of the day, as realtors, as mortgage reps, I think it's fair to say that we all sell the same product, right? We all have access to the same properties. I have access to the same programs. But what separates us? What makes us different? What's going to make that person go with us versus our competitor? And that's what we're trying to do right now. Myself, Evelyn, Al, value added, right, to our realtors, so you guys can go out there with some ammunition and with some power, right? Some muscle. So today, the content that we're producing today was Evelyn's idea and Al's. And, I have a bunch of PowerPoints, and they said, no, Mike, let's talk about COVID-19. And let's talk about, cold calling and social media, because the one thing that we all have in common right now is that we're all home. So we got to make our time productive while we're home. And I think everyone can agree it's super easy to get lazy at home, right? So if I can give you guys some golden nuggets to take home, some good information that you can take with you and implement in your business, then my job is done. And I'm pretty sure Evelyn and Al will be happy too as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. So what are you finding right now, moreover, regards to actual mortgages coming into MLB? Are you finding that people are, more interested in refinancing, forbearance, forgiveness? Are you encouraging them to go ahead based on credit score? Does it have to be 7? Are you approving people at 5, at 6? How has MLB changed right now?
Right. So we have changed. I'm having a lot of conversations. Obviously, the refinances are there. It's not my book of business. It's not what I try to focus on, but refinances are naturally coming in, and I'm thankful for it. But a refinance is not the same as a purchase transaction, right? Because a first-time home buyer is a first-time home buyer. They need to be educated. They need to have their hand held. They need to know the facts. So as soon as COVID-19 came about, everything was business as usual. And then after a week or two, because of the media and instilling a lot of fear in people, the investors, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, and for you guys that don't know who that is, those are called government-sponsored enterprises. They're the entities in America that lend all the money. No matter if you're MLB or Wells Fargo or TD, you're backed by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae. They started tightening up a little bit, and they started letting out some negative news about people not paying their mortgage. So as you guys can imagine, when there's news out there and about people not paying their mortgage, guidelines are going to get what? Strict. They're gonna compress a little bit. So the first thing that happened is we stopped going down to 550 credit scores. That's the first thing. But as other lenders got super conservative and made their minimum credit score 680, we're still doing 600. So that's a good thing. We're still being very aggressive with those type of deals because we do FHA and conventional, but we're like a good FHA shop. We do a lot of FHA loans. Anybody can do an easy loan, right? So anyone can do those loans. So we kind of focus on those harder loans. So we did compress a little bit, and we're down to a 600 credit score, but we did implement some pretty cool things in regards to disclosures, in regards to disclosing a loan. Obviously, I'm not meeting with people face to face, right? And I was very big, and I still am. And when things get lighter, I'm still going to meet with all my clients. But I was really meeting with my clients face to face. Now we're e-disclosing everything. So that's one thing that we implemented immediately. MLB is a local mortgage company, so we're very nimble as is. So we were already working virtually. You can work from anywhere in America or even in the world for that matter, because it's just logging into our system. So we adapted pretty quick because we're small, because we're nimble. Things like doing verification of employments, that we got very strategic with that. As you can probably imagine, a lot of people are not in the HR department anymore.
A lot of people aren't working. So how are you handling that?
Well, that's a great question. So if you are not working and you are on unemployment, you cannot apply for a mortgage.
Right.
If you're already in the mortgage process,
right,
and you were furloughed, or you were if you were fired, that's a different story. You're laid off. If you were laid off, the loan gets put on hold. It doesn't go away. We don't kill the loan. It just gets put on hold. As soon as you go back and you collect one pay stub, you're back into the groove of things. You can now close. So does that make sense, guys? Because there's a lot of misconception here, like, oh my God, well, I'm gonna need to go back to work for a month or two. No, 1 week, one pay stub, and you can start up with the process again of getting that mortgage.
And then they get fired, and then they ask you for forbearance or forgiveness.
Well, if they get fired, God forbid.
Or they get laid off, not fired necessarily.
Right, let's say they get laid off.
Yeah.
MLB is not a servicing company, right? So we're bankers, we lend our own money, we service the loan for the first 90 days.
Okay.
After that, we sell the servicing rights. Now, I have got phone calls within those first 90 days already.
Sure.
And I mean, you got to really take the salesperson hat off. You got to take the commission hat off, and you got to really go heart to heart and say, listen, if you really got hardship, seems like you do if you're calling me, then you can't make the payment. And what we're telling them is, it's not a payment that's going to be forgiven. No. And it's not going to be payments. A lot of people are thinking like, oh, if I miss 3 months, they're going to ask me for those 3 months on the 4th month. That's not what forbearance is. Forbearance is basically a deferment of payment. It gets put on back of the loan. So instead of you having 30 years, you're going to have 30 years and 3 months. Right. Or they're going to modify your loan, right? And they're going to say, well, you owe us, I'm just going to use a round number. You owe us $10,000 in back payments. We're going to make your payment a little bit higher for the next 12 months so you can catch up. So there's different options. And I got to tell you guys, there's no right answer. Every single servicing company is going to probably give you a semi-different answer on how they're going to approach forbearance. And it's really up to the servicing company.
So let me just segue from that to the conversation that you have to have with the realtors that are calling you and saying, we want to pre-approve this person. They have the what score are you at now?
We're going down to 600 still.
So we have a 600 candidate, we need you to pre-approve them. What's the conversation you're going to have with them?
So the first conversation, and I have these every day, the first conversation is get me in touch with the client, obviously. And the first conversation is, have you been affected by COVID-19 in regards to employment? That's the first conversation. Has your credit been affected due to COVID-19? That's the second conversation. And if those answers are no problem, my credit's still good, in the front line, so I have actually job security, unfortunately, for a bad reason, but I'm in the front line, my job is okay, no problem, then it's business as usual, and we're doing those loans. It gets a little complicated if you're self-employed, as you can imagine, right? How are you going to prove your income this year to me if you're self-employed?
Right.
We are so creative, Evelyne and Al, that it just makes me feel, I always felt good about being at MLB, but as salespeople, we always have our ear to the street, right? Oh, this mortgage company's doing this and this mortgage company's doing that. You know what? The grass is not greener. Water your own grass. That's what I say to people, because in this tough time, I really seen what MLB is all about. I've been closing self-employed borrowers for the last 3 weeks. My underwriters are so creative and it's such common sense underwriting that it literally gives me the chills sometimes. And I'm like, wow, what a great place to be. They are not looking at borrowers just like another number. I just closed on a contractor. He's a contractor. As you can imagine, it probably slowed down a little bit being a contractor. Not many people are doing inside renovation.
Aren't being had, and each town has its own regulations and stipulations as to how they're conducting business as usual, which is not usual, and contractors are not working. So
yeah. So my head underwriter got involved and he said, listen, I like the loan. Get me a letter explaining. We're doing a lot of these letters of explanation signed by the borrower, explaining exactly how are you conducting business post-COVID and how do you intend on conducting business moving forward. And we're asking for simple things like, okay, do you have a contract for your new job that's going to come up in June? Do you have a bank statement that shows that you have extra reserves just in case things slow down? So we're basically approaching it in an honest way and saying, listen, Mr. Contractor, Mr. Self-Employed, we know you're going to be affected a little bit. We all are. Do you have extra reserves? Yes, look at my bank statement. I have 30,000 in there. We're going to close your loan then. Give me a letter of explanation explaining how you're going to conduct business. Recently, we did a mortgage for a cleaning service. Just so had it, to be honest, the cleaning service is actually doing a lot better because of all the sanitation that's going on in these buildings.
sure.
But underwriters don't know that off the cuff. So it's our job, mine and the realtors, to put it together with the borrower. And, it's just basically putting the deal on a silver platter so the underwriters can look at it and say, you know what, this makes sense. They covered all angles. So
How are you educating the realtors right now in real time to keep them apprised and abreast of these actual changes that are happening within MLB right now so that they can better serve their clients or their customers so that you can better serve them and everybody's on the same page? What are you telling realtors? And then we're going to just take 2 more minutes with this. We're going to jump into the social media aspect of how to sustain in this market with.
Sure. I mean, one of them is doing webinars with folks like you. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of brokers that are doing these. There's a lot of brokers that are, and there's a lot of brokers that are not. In regards to our realtors that we are presently closing deals with, I don't think that I've communicated this much on a daily basis with my realtors.
Wow.
Right now. We literally have pipeline meetings every day. I communicate every single day via phone.
Yeah, you have to. You have to have these communications are key right now. We're finding that, a lot of realtors that are accustomed to the brick and mortar are falling at the wayside with their, self-motivation, and they're being reactive instead of proactive. And we at Living Great here are, completely determined to keep everybody proactive because we don't want our industry to die a rapid death. We're clearly seeing a dip in the prices. Sellers are taking hits. They're, back and forth. It's going to become a buyer's market. Buyers going to have the leverage and the upper hand, and sellers are getting nervous that they're not going to get, what they had hoped for. And, there aren't enough realtors that are educated with, the different lending programs right now to ensure that the sellers are confident that, they can vet the right buyers to sell their properties. So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of mishap. There's definitely an absolute need for communication and proactivity, in our industry. And we have to be on these crazy webinars. We've really got to share information and, just help each other get through it so that, when the dust does settle, hopefully sooner than later. We're seeing a lot of states that are opening up now slowly. Probably New Jersey is going to be one of the later ones. We have so many cases here, but certainly, we've got to be continued proactive proponents for our industry and for each other. And we rely on the experts. We rely on the Santos, the mortgage companies to help us navigate these waters, because clearly where people can't get a loan, we don't have the guidance if we're not being informed by you. So again, I will just say, how are you helping us realtors in this world right now to conduct business and be proactive? What kinds of things for the topic of today in social media are you steering people towards that are creative and off the beaten path? How are you guiding? How are you advising? How are you reinstilling the confidence that everybody so needs at this time while they're watching friends and family wither away? God forbid that it should not have happened to anybody that's on this meeting. But you know, it's a very confusing times. But how are you helping?
Yeah, I mean, other than communicating and texting my realtors and communicating and calling and emailing, we try to put a video out, once a week, maybe even more. We've been has nothing to do with guidelines, but we've also been showing the other side, which is giving back to our front line and doing really nice things for them. But in regards to educating the realtors, we're putting out videos. I keep flooding social media with MLB is doing business as usual. And there's a whole bunch of other mortgage reps doing the same. If I was a realtor right now, full-time agent, part-time agent, doesn't matter, I would immediately communicate with a mortgage professional on a weekly basis and say, hey, what came out this week? How are interest rates? Did guidelines change? They're not hard questions.
Absolutely.
They're really not. And one thing that I want to say to the realtors listening right now, if you guys are working with borrowers that are pre-approved, please, I beg you, make sure that you touch base with the mortgage rep that's on the pre-approval, because what might be pre-approved today, what might be pre-approved last month might not be pre-approved today.
Absolutely.
Because guidelines have changed. So please make sure, because one little glitch in the debt to income ratio, one drop in credit score, it might not be a deal. And as you guys can imagine, as realtors, mortgage reps are probably going a little haywire right now, right? They're trying to close what's in their pipeline. Do you think they're focused on what they had pre-approved 2 months ago? Probably not. They're probably focused, hyper-focused. Let me close my pipeline. Let me close my pipeline. So what me, Louisa, and my other assistant, Robert has been doing, we've actually been proactive, like you said, Evelyne, not reactive, and contacting those pre-approved borrowers and saying, hey, are you still looking? Yes? All right, I'm going to update your file. And then we're communicating with realtors. We're reaching out to them, and we're letting them know how it's affecting their pre-approved borrowers. Now, truth be told, I have a handful of more deals that were affected by COVID. Credit scores below 600. Income that is no longer there.
Right.
How about rentals?
Right.
Rentals is a big one.
Sure.
If you're pre-approved for a 2-family, 3-family, 4-family home, and that pre-approval is based on rental income, you might have an issue, because underwriters, as you can imagine, are going to look at it and say, what if they don't pay you rent?
And a lot of them are asking to, be given a grace period.
Exactly. So we are very hands-on with that. And to answer that question, how is MLB approaching that? Believe it or not, we're taking the word for it. I mean, I just closed a 3-family home in Newark that the lady needed the rental income. She gave me leases. She gave me security deposit checks. We can't call them a liar.
No.
But lenders could turn it down. MLB, again, I'm very surprised. For a small mortgage company, they're really putting their money where their mouth is. They're going through and they're closing loans, and we're funding.
Great to know. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. If we can, and attendees, I would just ask that you think of a question to ask, because we're going to now be switching gears real quick on how are we sustaining again on social media, and how are we communicating with clients? Are we still doing cold calls? What are some of those conversations that we're having? And I would really ask you all to please share any tips that you might have currently with each one of us, because we can all benefit from this. Michael, I'll ask you again, put you in the hot seat. How are we as realtors taking guidance from you or advice on how to do cold calls right now in these times?
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to move the camera. So I think right now, realtors, it is such a good time to expand your business. It is, you got to turn these negatives into positives. we are blessed that we're still considered essential. We all know that, right?
Absolutely.
This country, one of the pillars of this country is based on real estate and home ownership. So now we're home. We can't go to social networking events. We can't go out to lunch. And you know what? We're probably better off because a lot of those lunches probably never went anywhere anyway, right? a lot of those networking events, what'd you get out of them?
Empty calories.
That's right. Exactly. So guys, we're home. It's time to be proactive. It's time to work on your database. It's time to pick up the phone and call people you haven't spoken to in months, years, whatever it is. It's time to type up email templates. So when you get that lead, you're off to the races. It's time to build your brand if it's not already built. And let me tell you, if you already have a brand, I have a semi-brand that I'm pretty happy with, but we're always tweaking it. Even if you're branded and you got certain things working, guess what? It's time to be a mechanic and tweak it. It's time to make it better because we're home. We have time. It's time to get organized. We always complain how we don't have time. We're always on the run. We're always this, we're always that. I'm too busy. Guess what? You're not too busy now. You're home. Update your pictures if you could. I don't know if a photographer is going to come out, but update your social media, right? Update your emails, update your signature. Make those phone calls that you haven't made. And first thing, we kind of touched on how to adapt to COVID. So I'm going to kind of blow through this. You guys have my introduction. We underwrite loans in-house, blah, blah, blah. How did we adapt? We spoke about that, right? We spoke about disclosures. Every disclosure now is being e-disclosed. By the way, we have a lot of clients that are Hispanic, Latinos. I'm Portuguese. We're trilingual. It is a little bit, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is a little bit of a hurdle to have certain people sign disclosures online. Here's what we do. Back to basics, guys. We get on the phone with them. Hello, we get on the phone. I was on the phone with somebody for an hour today from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30. Here's the good news. I was in my pajamas. She didn't see me. And I walked her entirely through the application. I handed the loan in yesterday. She signed disclosures, appraisals ordered today. So back to basics. So we've adapted with disclosures. We've adapted with communication. Obviously, communication is back to basics. It's phone calls, phone calls, phone calls. Let me just, so the verification of employments, we spoke about that, guys. Do not be too concerned. MLB and other mortgage companies, we found a way to do verification of employments. We're not going to just mail in the VOE. We're going to call and we're going to talk to the borrower and ask for pay stubs. That's how we fix that problem. And we talked about somebody being furloughed, right? As soon as they go back to work, they can come back. Oh, appraisals. You didn't touch on that, Evelyne. Should I touch on that briefly?
Yes, obviously we're doing drive-by appraisals, and unless, the seller's allowing them to walk in or the bank's saying it's okay to go in. But yeah, by all means, go ahead.
I've had some weird situations. I literally had one last week that the tenant told the landlord that I have COVID, you can't come in. But then came to find out they lied about it. They just don't want to have the house sold. Swear to God, that happened last week.
Oh, okay.
So I've heard it all. But yes, like Evelyne says, we're doing drive-by appraisals, and we're actually doing even appraisals that no one can be in the house. All the doors can be open, and the realtor sits in the car. Right. Guys, just so you guys know, as realtors, appraisals are pretty fast. They're in and out pretty quick. They're not home inspectors, right? They're just there to take pictures of the property and make sure that the value's there. So there's a solution for that. Don't be too concerned about appraisals. The only problem that I see sometimes, if it's a multi-unit and they need access to one of the apartments, that can be an issue. But you know how we accomplish that? We trust the realtors as bankers, as a mortgage company. You guys go in there and take pictures if you want, or have the landlord take pictures, or even the tenant take pictures and email it to us. And we're doing stuff like that, out of the box type of things. We spoke about rental income. If you're a realtor that's doing transactions for multifamily house, be careful, communicate with your mortgage rep and make sure you ask questions like, hey, Mr. Mortgage Rep, does this client qualify without the rental? Just so I know, because maybe the underwriter might have an issue with it. As you can imagine, What's the one type of rental that we're going to love in this type of crisis? Section 8. Remember that. If it's Section 8, no problem. Why? Because you get the check in the mail. Okay, let's keep going here. Closings. And by the way, I'm pretty sure you realtors have your own attorneys and title companies. So make sure that they're cutting edge and they're doing virtual closings, drive-through closings. I hear my attorney does this whole, like, the documents are in this room. The client comes in and signs. There's only like one person at one time. So I think everyone is adapting. One thing I do want to touch on with a credit, we do credit simulator. We have software that we own that if you're working with a client that's below 600 or just wants a better rate, talk to us first. Don't tell the borrower that they're not ready or go fix their credit. We have software that we can help them with their credit. Just want to touch on that. Okay, so the art of cold calling and how to make social media work for you, right? So cold calling is something that you have to kind of have a mindset for it. If you're in a bad mood or if you're preoccupied and you're thinking about another transaction, try not to cold call. Try to carve out time in your day or week and say, my phone is going belly down. I'm shutting my door to my home office, and for an hour straight, I'm going to call. When you cold call, you can't just rely on the phone call, guys. You guys have to have certain things in place. Like a text message has to automatically go out after you call, and an email has to go out right after you call. That email has to be a template. I would really recommend typing up a couple different templates. So you're not there typing and there's grammar problems. Be ready, because when you cold call, it's that quick 2-3 minute elevator pitch that you have. And that elevator pitch has to transpire into a text message with your digital card and what you spoke about, and also an email. Immediately after you do this cold call and you email and you text, where should you put that person's information? And that's a question, an open-ended question. As a realtor, where would you, if you're getting a lead from Zillow or from Boomtown or from a mortgage rep, where are you, and you're getting a name, a phone number, an email. After you call them, text them, email, what do you do with that person's contact?
Anybody?
I put it right into your CRM, right at the top. As soon as you get it, as soon as you talk to somebody new or made a contact, it should be automatically in there.
There you go, Alan.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
easy schmeezy, right? And then you let the best and guys, I don't want to go into details with CRMs, because the best CRM, guess what? It's the one that you use. There is no best CRM. It's the one that you use. It's the one that you live in. You open it up every morning, you get the little alerts. Oh, I got to follow up with Betty and Sammy today. And once you get into the groove of things like this, and guys, I am not speaking to you from a mortgage rep that got handed down a book of business. I am not speaking to you from a mortgage reps that my dad owned a company. My dad was a truck driver. My mom cleaned houses. I'm a mortgage rep. Everything that I have was built on my own and with my team, obviously. And I got to tell you, you have to drum up business. It will not come knocking on your door, guys. Everybody you speak to, including aunt, uncle, mom, sister, dad, the person at the cleaners, is a potential borrower, a potential buyer, but you got to keep in touch with them. And we all know there's so many hours in a day. So that's why a CRM is epic to success.
Your sphere of influence is really everyone that you speak to, right? So.
That's right. Everyone. It doesn't matter who it is. I have landscapers at my house today. Do you think they have my business card?
Of course.
100% they do. That's the first thing I gave them. So cold calling, follow-up calls. So it's really important, guys, and I know you can see the screen, crucial to keep up contact with potential clients. That's where CRM comes in place. Be available and easy to reach for questions. Put together marketing strategies and campaigns. CRMs do this for you. But if you don't put any information in a CRM, it's like not having gas in the car. It won't go anywhere. To be in the face of potential clients, it helps. Especially important to have a lender to make themselves available. This is the time, you know, a realtor told me about 2 weeks ago, right now is when I'm picking my team for the next couple of years. And I said, what do you mean by that? Whoever doesn't pick up my phone call for it doesn't call me back, I'm done with them. If they're not working with a team and they're not replying back, I'm done with them. So make sure your referral partners are there for you. Okay, so when cold calling, these are really good bullet points, guys. I live by these. And by the way, everyone that's listening, you'll get this email to you. I'm pretty sure Louisa can send this email out to you guys. You guys will have this PowerPoint. I don't mind. I'm all about sharing content. So first bullet point, make sure to be focused on the call. Guys, when you're cold calling, when you carve out that hour, make sure you have the person's name right. Make sure you can verify their phone number and their email. Because the first thing, when I get a cold caller, how did you get my info? Am I right or wrong? That's what you're gonna ask. How did you get my info? Oh, Sam, I got your info from Zillow. I work very closely. I'm one of their preferred realtors. Is your email so-and-so? Yes. Is your phone number so-and-so? Obviously, I just called you. I have your information. So make sure you know the person's information that you're calling so you don't sound like you don't know what's going on. Have the property info ready. Sir, I know you called about 223 Smith Street. Are you still interested? I love that property. Great. That one might be available and we have many others. And you start going into the conversation. If they don't answer, call 3 times consecutively. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, I would recommend get comfortable doing it because they're not going to pick up on the first call. And no, you should not leave a message because now they're going to block your number probably. You got to get them on the phone. You got to get them on the phone. What I usually do, well, I don't cold call as much. Louisa does a lot of my cold calling. She calls 3 times in a row. On the third time, she'll text them. Hi, is this Sammy? And they'll say yes. You call them back right away. Obviously, if they replied back to a text, they might pick up the phone. They might sound annoyed at first, but the one piece of advice that I can give all the realtors out there when cold calling, do not speak to them as a stranger. Put in your mind that they are an aunt or an uncle. Speak, and I know it sounds cliche, but it's so true. Speak to them from your heart. Speak to them like what you're really trying to do. And what are we really trying to do when we cold call somebody? We're trying to help them. That's it. All we're trying to do is help somebody get into a home. And if you're true to that, it comes out of you. They sense it. They sense you being genuine to them. And it works every time. If you sound robotic, it's not good. Sir, I'm just trying to help you. I know you're interested in looking at a home. If I can help you get into one in the best way possible, then I've done my job. That's it. Keep it simple, and speak from the heart. It is a follow-up game. I'm going to show you some statistics on the next slide on how many times it takes to actually close a cold call statistically. Do not try to sell them. Be a guide. Be value added. I'm an expert in building talent, sir. And by the way, you can stretch the truth a little bit, right, Alan and Evelyn? You can stretch the truth a little bit. You can say, listen, I'm an expert in Bergen County, Hudson County. I've been in these areas for 20 plus years. There's not a street that I don't know. So for now, let's just meet up and I'll show you a property. Or for now, I'll just show you a virtual tour because everyone's doing those now. Mm-hmm. Put yourself in their position. That's my favorite thing, right? Because that's like practicing my favorite word, empathy. See through the eyes of another, hear through the ears of another, feel through the heart of another. If you practice that as realtors, you will be better every single day. Practice that word, empathy. I always ask myself, if I was a consumer, would I want to hear what I'm saying? If the answer is no, then I'm going to change up my game a little bit. Some extra tips, call with a great attitude. When you call in a bad mood, when you speak to somebody, can you sometimes tell if they're in a bad mood on the other line? Of course you can. Now try smiling when you call. All of a sudden things change. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Alan, how are you? Well, what do you want? Listen, I know you're annoyed. I don't know if I'm the third person calling you, but I'm really just trying to help you. I'm a local guy. I'd love to meet up with you. I'm a realtor for X amount of years. I sell real estate. And if I can help you get into a piece of property that can give you some residual income or raise your family, I'm a happy guy.
Okay, let me jump in, Mike. So that's not a conversation that I'm prepared to have right now in these times. You understand?
No problem. You know what? And I totally.
So now switch it and let me hear you. Right. Rinse, repeat. Let's hear it.
Right. Evelyn, you know what? I totally understand. And I hope it's not because you had job loss. Oh my God, I would feel really bad if you did. If you have job loss, I totally understand. I'll put you, you know, in my to call list in a couple of months, and maybe we can do something later on. Is it because of job loss, Evelyn?
Well, it's not because of job loss. It's lack of confidence. It's fear of missing out, fear of spending when maybe I shouldn't. The economy's taking a hit. I don't feel so strong about the future. I'm really unsteady. I'm just going to stay put. I don't know what to expect tomorrow.
Well, let me just leave you with this, because I see that you're kind of, you know, you know exactly what you don't want to do and what you want to do. Let me leave you with this. If you're paying rent, you have a full-time job, and it's free of cost. You have nothing to lose by finding out your buying power and just knowing the number that you qualify for, right? And again, free of cost. I work with very, very good mortgage reps that would do this, obviously, free of cost. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is I'm a professional in my business. I do a lot of reading on economic news. And I got to tell you, we're going into a very hot market, I believe, especially with all the people saying this. People that are home right now, they're looking at their family and they're saying, you know, I should have bought that house last year. You know, I should have did this. I should have did that. You know why? Because life is short. And again, I'm not trying to convince you, Evelyn, because, you know, you're a person I called today. I probably got a couple more to call. And, you know, it's fine. And we're going to keep in touch. But just consider that, though, because if you're paying rent already and you have no tax deductions, and the housing market, you know, right now it's a great time, they say, because sellers are getting a little anxious on selling. So you might get a good deal on a property. I'm not saying for you to marry into this right now, but at least give it a shot. Get pre-approved. It's free of cost.
Rates are good, right?
Rates are good. And if you don't do anything with it, guess what? You have a pre-approval for 90 days. Make a move in August. That's all. That's all.
Okay.
No pressure.
Anybody else want to chime in with the script that you might be having with one of your customers right now? Marco?
Polo?
Sharon? Helen? Anybody?
I just think I agree 100% with both sides, but I know some of the realtors that we're working with, and myself included, because of the environment is so down on us. It's hard, Michael. You have such a great attitude, which is terrific, and you're pumping us up. But we have to overcome that, because we wake up every day and go, oh, it's another day in quarantine. I don't really feel like talking to somebody. So you said we have to have that smile attitude. So how do we overcome that? Because we say, oh, the market, nobody's buying, nobody's selling, I'm not talking. So how do I get after this phone call, I say, all right, Evelyn, okay, our agents, everybody put in an hour of calling. How do we overcome the darkness of this pandemic and thinking everything's falling out from under us, and bring light to that conversation?
Yeah. And listen, obviously if there's, you know, sadness and someone's close to you that's suffering from COVID, or God forbid somebody passed away, I can't relate to you. And that's just another, my heart goes out to you. It literally brings tears to my eyes. Yeah, it is hard to stay positive, Alan. It really is. And I struggle with it too. I'm not a robot by no means. But you know, Alan and Evelyn and everyone that's listening, what other option do we have?
True.
I mean, yeah, we can stay in bed. Yes, we can be down and say, oh my God, what's going to happen? You're right. It's easier to do that. But why? It just, in my eyes, I mean, I come from very humble beginnings. Every day I wake up, I count my blessings. I don't know if I can teach that. I think it's just in my DNA. Good day, bad day. For me, it's a good day. You know, the one thing I can say is communicating with humans, communicating with people every day. That helps me. It really does. Texting somebody and seeing how they're doing, that helps me. And just checking in with people, and then having people check in with me, because it shows that people care about me. So yeah, I don't know if I got the right answer for that, Alan. It is hard to get motivated in such a.
But I am finding, though, I'm sorry, Al, for interrupting. I am finding, though, people are receptive to conversations, at least where I sit. I'm finding that people are listening. They want to talk to people because they're so cooped up in isolation and in quarantine that they're bored. They want, they've got the time. Go ahead, humor me, entertain me, enlighten me, sell me, try. They either have a lot of juice because they're pent up, or they're completely depleted, and you're not going to get anywhere anytime with those. But you'll know the difference, right from within the first 5 seconds. At least I do anyway. But the ones that I'm speaking to, and I'm making a lot of calls, I am finding that people are receptive to these conversations. They want to hear what's going on in the market. They want to be sure that, when the sun rises tomorrow, there'll be a brighter day, that maybe today we can actually go out and see one of those properties. The American dream is not dead. They want to hear that. So we are really about empowering, about being proactive, not reactive. And we're trying to let our customer base hear that in our voices. And I think that's very important. And if it's not in your DNA, you got to fake it to make it, guys. And that's the business we're in. We're in sales. Make no bones about it. Keep your emotions out of it, or keep it convenient for your listener. Make sure that your emotions are, are being responsive to the person that's speaking to you. So act accordingly, but make those calls. Very important right now.
Yeah. Hey, Louisa, can you just touch on how you kind of approach a call real quick?
Sure.
Because you do a lot of cold calling.
Whole script though. It's like memorized and printed in my head.
I can't see it, Louisa. I don't see it on your head.
Oh, it's in there. Like I have it memorized no matter what. What do you want me to say? Like if I was to call, when I do a regular cold call?
So yeah, I've heard you cold call, Louisa, and I mean, you don't have to go through it and actually role play, but you're really good. And people, I mean, they're quick to send you personal information.
Thank you.
Which is half the battle. So what's one thing, give me 3 tips that you can send to these realtors and say, keep this in mind when talking to a stranger. Give me 3 tips.
I think being in a good mood is big. It's got to be like the right time of day to where you're prepared to listen to the other person, to let them really, explain their side or their fears or whatever it may be, or even get hung up on. You have to just have a good attitude about it. And it's got to be like the perfect time of day within your schedule to do it. And then it's also about being super friendly and not when I call them, I don't call them trying to like sell them something or even talk to them about the product yet. I just want to see if they're receptive of just hearing a little bit more information or getting more information. And then when I follow up with them with a text or with an email or even with a call with you later on, it kind of already, like, it's kind of like somebody that they already know.
So I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to cut you off, but I got the 3 things out of you. Good mood, listen, and be friendly.
I got 4 things out of her, Mike. And the right time. Louisa, what is the right time?
That's the thing. It's for every person. I think it's different. Like for me personally, like obviously if you get a lead and you want to be, on top of it, you call it right away. Even if you're like, swamped and you have other stuff. But when I try and follow up with them or when I try and do the most calls, I try and pick a good time during the day or a good time during the week that I'm in a perfect mood and I've accomplished other things throughout my day so that I don't have like all these things laying on me.
So I have my own ideas, but I'm just curious from some of the attendees. And this question is going out to you other realtors that aren't with Living Great Real Estate. What is the right time? Is there a prescription for the right time? I'd like to hear from some of you. Can you please raise your hand? I'd love for you to share that with us. Is there anybody here that can tell us what is the right time to call?
It's a tough question.
Did I hear you say something, Marco?
You're not going to know what the right time is for the other person on the other line, on the other line. So obviously you got to make it your right time. So what is that? I mean, that's not to each individual, no? I'm assuming.
No, I've heard that there are certain specific times in the day that people are more receptive.
Oh, 3,000%.
I wonder who knows that. Louisa, what?
Usually if I start making my lead, like let's say I called a lead right when it came in, they'll usually text me and they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm at work. Or in this case, they'll still tell me, hey, I'm busy. Sorry, I'm home with the kids, but can I give you a call back? So I will always recall them after like 6, and it's like the perfect time.
Dinner time?
Perfect time.
Dinner time doesn't sound like a perfect time.
But at this time during COVID-19, what is the perfect time?
Anytime.
I don't know about that.
That's a good
So we
question. I
can
don't
hear
know.
from others here. Anybody else have a different idea? Diane Curtis. No? Enrique.
Even when I'm calling just socially, the first thing I ask is this a good time? I mean, you have
Okay.
to listen to the person clearly. If they tell you it's not a good time, it's not a good time. So I
Okay.
think that should be the first question out of your mouth is, hey, how are you? Is this a good time?
Okay.
Well, but I think that leaves you up to them saying, no, it's not a good.
Yes, that's right.
You have to respect that, because one of the most annoying things for a client is they tell you something and you don't listen. That's, you got to be really careful. I mean, when
But
somebody
they can
calls me,
still tell you that it's not the right time.
you
But
ask,
you,
what
but
is a
you
good
should
time?
still be able to get the words as to what your call is about before you give them the chance to take over the call and cut you off.
But
Because if
what I
you
try to
call,
do is
like if you
establish a
call
time.
me, perfect example, if you call me, I usually don't, I hate sales calls, like if they call me for stuff. And it's usually about like stuff that I don't even have, like credit cards or whatever. But if you call me, most likely I'm gonna tell you that I don't want to hear it.
Right.
But if you tell me first what you're calling me about, or if you're friendly, I will stay on the phone with you for 5 more seconds. And then I know, and I can make a determination if I really want to stay on the call with you or if I really am not interested. I can choose to tell you, you know what, I'm really not interested, or this is not a good time. I want to like deal with this later. But I think like you have to take control of the call so that you get a good return of your lead.
What I do is I make sure that before I hang up, we have another time that I know they've told me is a good time to call, because the expectation that I leave them with is we will talk again. This is not a good time, no problem, but I'm going to call you back. That's what I try to do. Is it's a good time? Yes, we proceed. If not, this is when I'm going to call you back. Great, wonderful. And yes, keep it very friendly and very low pressure.
Like open so that you can always reach out to them again. Yeah, that's good.
So
Is breakfast time a good time to call? First thing in the morning? Is lunchtime a good time to call? Is dinner time a good time to call?
But that's the thing. Like you don't know when they're exactly having breakfast. You don't know exactly when they're having lunch.
But can we make a little bit of a safe assumption that those 3 times are probably not the best time to call? Just wondering, taking
Yeah.
a poll.
Mhm. Like if I had to choose to call them at that time, I probably wouldn't. Yeah.
Okay. So there is a right time to call from a time standpoint, in at least where I sit. And those 3 times I would never call, but I would call soon, shortly, right thereafter.
You'd call them during snack time. During snack time, right in between lunch and dinner.
Right after they've eaten. They're on a full stomach. They're happy now. Before they get on the bus, before they get in the car, before they make the next move, that's when I want to speak to them.
All right, Michael, I'd like you to get through. Let's get through a little bit more of the presentation so we don't miss out on it.
Okay.
I think this is all good.
more slides to go. So
Yeah,
I'm
thank
not going to bore you with this, but it's self-explanatory, guys. These are statistics. When you guys get this PowerPoint, you guys can read them. The last one is the one I want to point out. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th call. So if you
Nice
call,
statistic. Thank you, Michael.
once or twice, guys, you're not doing it justice.
Right.
Call to action. Always ask yourself, this is a question that please ask yourself every morning. What separates you from the other realtors? Value added. Educate first, sell second, whatever it is. I'm a professional in this, whatever it is. I see all the certain realtors have all these abbreviations next to their names. That's like certifications, right? So if you have those, you want to expose them. You want to exploit them. So just ask yourself every morning, what separates you guys? This slide, I'm not going to go too into it because I want to get into the social media, but this is just some strategic ways to organize your time, right? Because time is the most valuable thing we have. Some tips, create a database. Everyone you meet should periodically email sent to you. You should have a bio. set up in your email so they get to know you a little bit better before they get to meet you. And one thing I do want to emphasize on, guys, please get your clients to give you reviews, a testimonial. I can't tell you how many clients do business with me because of my reviews. And they actually tell me, because I try to give them the link and they straight up tell me, I already did my research on you. I seen your video, I seen your Zillow reviews and your Google reviews. That's the reason why I'm using you. For me, that's powerful. And I didn't think it was going to be that powerful until Louisa really got me involved in these reviews. And we get a lot of them. We try to get one from every client. I have over 100 on Zillow. So please, guys, focus on reviews, even if it's a testimonial, because that's important when getting new clients. Okay, so social media platforms. So here are some facts that are real about social media. And this is going to be the last slides. 93% expect you to have a social media presence. That's huge. Make sure to create this or better organize the one that you currently have. Guys, we're home. If you have social media, it's time to revamp it. It's time to get involved a little bit more and engage. Make sure you're not the type of Facebook person that doesn't like anyone's stuff, doesn't comment on anything, and just kind of goes there and snoops. That's not social media engagement. Engagement is liking and commenting and sharing. Because what happens is it's a domino effect, guys. If you like, comment, and share, what are they going to do to your post? They're going to like, they're going to comment, they're going to share. And I don't know if you guys know, but when you comment on a social media post, it brings it back up into the feed. Every time you comment, or someone, not you, but someone who comments, it brings it back up. It brings it back up. Therefore, more people keep seeing it and seeing it and seeing it. When you think of social media, think of value added. Think of yourself. You don't want to talk about certain things, and we're going to get into that. You don't want to talk about certain things. You want to go into social media with a plan, an execution plan. What do I want to get out of social media? If you don't want to get anything out of it, then post whatever you want. But if you're there to get business, and we get a lot of business from social media, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, you have to have a plan. What do I want people to know me as? For me, it's simple. I want them to know me as a husband, a father, and a mortgage professional. I don't play sports. I don't watch sports. I could care less about politics. I don't talk about religion either. Doesn't really matter. I want them to know me as a father, a husband, and a mortgage rep. So you have to ask yourself that too. What do I want to portray on social media? Come up with a plan. And everything that we're speaking about, Evelyne and Alan, because you guys are so awesome and you guys involve me, we don't mind helping some of your agents with it. I mean, we're your preferred lender, I like to think. And so we're here to help you guys. So anything that we can do, you let us know. More than 52% rely on reviews. Guys, that's a fact. 52% of clientele looking to get your service, which is real estate, they rely on reviews. How many times have we bought something that my wife purchases things online? The first thing she does is read up on reviews. Let me read up a review. Let me see if they had a good experience. Very important. Encourage past clients to leave you a review. And by the way, if you did a good job, you shouldn't be embarrassed of getting a review. It's our report card. And if we're striving for A's and B's, hopefully all A's, no problem. We should get reviews. There will be people who come across your page without looking for your services. That's why it's important to make sure your brand is in order. There's going to be people doing this. What's going to catch their eye? You, your pop, what you're about, what you're portraying on social media. So you got to be mindful of it. I always say Facebook and social media and LinkedIn and Instagram, don't wing it. Be premeditated with it. Keep in mind, these are future clients or people who will refer you business. Anybody that sees you on social media who likes your post can be a potential client. There are many different platforms. You can choose at least 2 to have a presence, or all, depends on you. The more platforms that you are visible for your business, the better you're going to be off. So let's talk about that. So the next slide are all the platforms. I don't use Pinterest other than looking at cool pictures, but realtors can use Pinterest. Pinterest, you can have your own page. And you can pick out things that you're into. If you're into fashion, if you're, obviously you should be into real estate if you're on this webinar. So if you're into real estate, you can put pictures of certain architectural things that you like in regards to real estate. Twitter is more for microblogging. It's good for news. I don't use Twitter. I don't use Pinterest that much. I use Facebook. For me, Facebook's almost like the granddaddy. It's the best one out there. I got the most followers. I got the most engagement. Currently, in the last year, my Instagram has been working for me really, really well. So I like to think that I'm leaning towards more Instagram now, but Facebook is still where all my family members are on, my uncles, my aunts, people from high school. But Instagram is definitely cool too. And I don't know if you guys are going to go in that deep, but there's certain ways of posting. On Facebook, there's an actual post, and then there's Facebook stories, which are only good for 24 hours. Those are where, look, Louisa says, she's like, you love those. I love the Instagram stories. Why? You know why? Because I get out of my comfort zone. It's only there for 24 hours, and then it deletes. So I'm there, I put the camera on, and I'm like, hey, it's Mike, and blah, 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 and look at this and look at that. And I'm a car fanatic. I love cars. So I put a lot of my car stuff on there. I put stuff on there that's not like so super mortgage professional. You can be yourself more because it erases after 24 hours. And, you know, be comfortable with it. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but also it's social media, guys. Everyone's human. Be real, be genuine. People see through fakeness, right? Even on social media. So just try to be real, try to be genuine with it, and you guys will do great. But the ones that I would recommend to any agents out there that says, Mike, I don't know. I mean, you're telling me all this stuff. Where do I start? Start with Facebook for now. Start with Facebook. And then start with Instagram. And then the other one that I leave you with is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also good. But LinkedIn for me is more of like recruiting. I mean, I get mortgage companies trying to recruit me a dime a dozen every single day. So same thing with realtors, I can imagine. You're on there, they're trying to recruit you. They're trying to recruit you. If you're a broker owner, they want you to open up a franchise. If you're a realtor, they want you to go work over here. So for me, LinkedIn, I can have it, I can leave it. The two that I want you guys to focus on, Facebook and Instagram. Those are the two. Okay. Branding is in everything that you do and everything you stand for. So again, premeditation. Make sure that you get your ducks in a row. Make sure you know what you're posting. For people out there that are going to do it on their own, right? I mean, I'm blessed enough where I have young people working for me that kind of red flag me and say, Mike, that's corny. Don't post that no more. You got 0 likes, buddy. Let me help you. For those of you that don't have that, I'm putting myself out there for you guys. We can have a conversation over the phone. I can give you some tips. I can get you guys started. If you guys are out there and listening and saying, Mike, I don't even know how to get started. If you guys have kids that are teenagers, they can help you. Trust me. I'm already prepping my son to help me with Snapchat because he's a Snapchat genius. And now he's becoming a TikTok genius. So have your kids help you. Have your nephews, your nieces help you. Because I know it could be difficult. Somebody that's not too savvy on a computer, Mike, how do I do this? How do I share? How do I copy paste? I get it. And I don't have all the answers for you guys. I just know that social media is important. I really do. And
lots of informational videos on how to all over the place.
Oh, there you go, Evelyne. How about sharing those videos exactly on YouTube and stuff like that.
YouTube everywhere, yeah.
Exactly. Be educational about it. And always, I think my opinion with social media is always have a value added, right? How am I adding value? And that's it, guys. Questions and answers. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. That was a lot. Okay. We're just over an hour, a little bit. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of technical glitches at the beginning, and we had started a little late. But we're going to open it up for questions and answers. If anybody, would like to share some information, we'd love to hear it at this time. So please raise your hand or go ahead and jump right in.
You had Google on there, and I had this marketing guy that had told me that a lot of people, so you have your social media, your Instagram and your Facebook. A lot of people do research on Google, so that you need to have a big presence on Google as well. And per your slide there, it showed that Google was just similar to Instagram and the amount of people that are on there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I apologize because that's a technical glitch on our end. Google used to have a platform that would allow you to communicate and this and that. They don't have it anymore. But they don't have, like, I forget what it's called. Let me just back up a little bit.
No,
Yeah,
they have
Google-
something called
Google Plus. So Google Plus.
like a chat.
Yeah, it's like a chat. They don't have
Hangouts,
Hangouts.
the
Yep,
Hangouts.
that's what it is. Yep, I just hung out with my cousins on there last week.
So it's not that popular, but I'm glad you brought that up, Marco. So
It's actually one of the older ones. It's
One of the
just,
older ones.
it is popular. It was more popular, you know, at one time, but it seems to be fading a little bit. And Google actually, not that long ago, canceled everybody's Hangout feature, and then they brought it back again. So there was a pause, there was a bump, and then I think that's where they lost a lot of their audience. But it is still a good, viable social media tool to use for sure.
But you definitely want to get reviews on Google. Like, we focus on that. I mean, the clients that give us reviews, we really try to get them to give us a review on Google, because you're right, Marcos, everyone searches on Google. So yeah.
Actually, we're trying to get reviews now on everything. And I'll tell you why, because we have been getting so much questions on Mike's social media that, like, just people that are just have like questions about the mortgage industry. They might not be planning to buy just yet, but they're like planning to buy in like 6 months or something like that. That we're now trying to get reviews on like the Facebook page and the Instagram, like the actual business pages, so that people, when they go on there, they can see the reviews and get a better.
How do you do that? How you get them to do the reviews on those things?
So I actually personally call, and I send them out an email when they close or when they're about to close, like the week of. But now we have automatic texting that is going out too with a link. And I'm also reaching out to them specifically so that they can find us, like before they, you know, leave and they close, that they can find us and follow our actual union pages on Instagram and on Facebook. And hopefully they just give you a thumbs up, or if they want to take 2 more minutes, they can actually write a review. I don't tell them, you know, what they can write about. On Zillow and on Google, there's specific metrics that they have to, you know, be within in order for it to get approved. Like, they can't speak on amounts, things of that sort, but they can explain about the service and about specific people. They mostly go on about, you know, how Mike is so great.
Oh, please.
So it's mostly just that, like, just kind of getting the reviews in a place where they're organized. Yelp is something that is, you know, I specifically use Yelp a lot, and we're probably going to get into it within this year to start having maybe a presence on Yelp too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good question, Marco. Anybody else? Enrique, you
Just
usually
a quick
have
one,
a
because
couple.
I know you want to wrap it up, but you did say there was a couple of things not to talk about on if you're on Facebook, if you're talking about religion, politics, or something else, you lose half your audience. If you're on one side of the aisle and your clients are on the other, I don't think you want to pontificate, you know, a political side, because all of a sudden you're losing half your clientele.
Alan, you said it, and you know what? We're all human, and I've not lost my cool, because I don't lose my cool, but I've already commented, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, God, I want to comment on this political post.
It's easier just to unfriend.
Or
That's what
block.
I've been doing. You know, and it's not to say that you've got to attract, you know, like-minded, politically bent individuals per se, but if somebody is so radical and so, like, you know, over the top with their comment on your page, on your feed, it's just like, get off. You know, you want them off, and I just go unfriend.
I think sport can do the same thing, because some people are like really fanatic of some kind of team, and you talk about sport and they belong to the other team, and it's kind of the same, so they can bring you to.
Just tell them to get on the right team.
Tell them to get on your team. That's
In real
right.
estate, that's all I can talk about. Real estate and try to just talk
That's
about the
safest.
that's safest. Like
Exactly.
real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the three, Alan. You actually said them. It's religion, politics, and sports.
Yeah.
I didn't say sports. You
Oh, you
said
didn't say sports. I'm going to say sports. No sports.
right.
But to
Did
be
you hear
fair, but to be fair, there are people that are effective while still posting about those topics.
There are. Mhm.
It's just the way in which you post, or some people just like to get people like all rallied up because
Sure.
they get engagement from it. They don't care. They're just gonna say that they're a supporter of whatever, just to get you to actually comment and
To react. Right.
yeah, just create engagement.
Right. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? That's it. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Game over. Whoops, sports. Don't unfriend me, Michael. Okay, guys, I just want to thank you all so much really for being here. And we'll be doing this weekly, and I encourage you all to come back and come loaded with questions, enthusiasm, criticism, whatever it is. Just keep your politics, your sports, your religion to yourselves, please. Let's do business. Let's keep everybody.
Well, if I can say something real quick.
Yes, go right
Thank
ahead.
you.
Yes.
I've been in my house for a month with my kids, go out like maybe twice a week, and I drive myself crazy. This was like a kind of a relaxing time, even when they come and bump into the camera and things like that. But awesome, and I can't wait. But I enjoy the conversation as well.
Oh,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Is Alan disconnecting us?
No, I think you have to sign off on your own.
There's a baby. There's a baby riding a little
A little baby, look.
a little baby.
Try that all day long. I got 3 of those.
They're having so much fun.
That's great.
They are.
Okay, well, thank you again, everybody. I'm going to end this meeting unless anybody has any comments. I would like to just say one final thing. I will be sharing Michael Santos's information with all the attendees today. And please feel free to reach out to him or myself if you have any questions about, our brokerage or about anything going on in the market you're just curious about, please reach out to me. And we'll be happy to, share Michael's information with you all in a private email shortly. Again, thank you very much. I'm going to end this meeting. Michael, Luisa, Marco, Enrique.
Thank you so much for having us.
On today. God bless
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay
Care.
safe.
Bye.
Stay safe and stay positive. We'll get through this.
Definitely.
will.
Okay?